Okay, Buzzkills here, Kathy Lundeen, Sandy Hartnett. We're here with the first select person to take papers out, Denene Premus, and she's gonna
Wow.
give us a little introduction. We'll ask a few questions. She invited us into her beautiful home, which is, as we walk out, we'll show you. It's gorgeous. So take it away, Denene.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to, I guess, talk about some issues and just, talk about what this is all about. So, I think it was a surprise to everybody that there was a vacancy. I think it wasn't something anybody was planning on. I mean, I certainly wasn't. I was kind of involved with some projects with my kids this summer. And so when this came up, I think it was just more an opportunity to just step forward and do something for the town in a different capacity. I think it's something that I feel like I'm fully capable of doing, and it's just something that I feel like Pepperell is at a crossroads that, where we passed, the override last year, and I think it's an important step forward. I feel like where it solved some problems. I think that it's an opportunity for the town to look at. We're at a point where we need to make some decisions that overwhelmingly people feel that they want to retain the character of the town and that they like the feel of the town, but you can't just do nothing to keep something.
Right.
You have to do things to put safeguards in place to keep the rural character. Overwhelmingly, the master plan committee, which has been doing a fabulous job, and they're working very, very hard to get a lot of answers and to put a plan forward for the town, but they sent out a lot of surveys, and 528 respondents came back, and 82% of them said that the reason why they live in Pepperell is for the community feel and the rural character. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that says something, and it should be heard and recognized.
Well, it's 82% of 500 people. How many people live in the town?
12,000.
Yeah,
So
12,000.
500 of 12,000 isn't really.
I think it's a pretty high.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, I think it's representative of people that were willing to respond, and if it's a sampling, still that's pretty.
I thought it was pretty high myself.
That's pretty high sampling.
Responding.
500? Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good response.
So is that the way you want the town to go? To stay small, rural? You're not really into growth and development? You think we're at a good size?
I think that you can have growth and development, but you can do it in a smart way. I think that there are areas in the town that can be grown and developed, but I think you can do it and not necessarily grow out into all of the rural areas. Otherwise you're gonna end up with another Acton or Billerica. I think that you can smart grow. So
how could we do that? Like what areas are you thinking of?
well, so for example, if you look at going, from like the Rotary down, so you've got the Peter Fitzpatrick area, which is now, they've got the RFP that's being looked at, and if that can be, if it, is agreed to, you've got development that can happen within the Fitz, right? So you can have a combination of small businesses and right.
So do you think the town should put the money into repairing the building? Because it's $125,000 now to
She's
repair
for
the heating.
demolition.
No, I'm not for demolition, but do you think we should keep putting money into the Peter Fitz to keep it up?
I think that they've already agreed to do that.
Well, no, I think the vote is at town meeting, isn't it, to spend $125,000?
That's for
I
the
think
heating
so.
system.
I think
Yep.
you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're
so
right
people are
about that.
voting whether to spend that money from the stabilization fund.
And I believe that the proposal is that the businesses that would go in there would be able to work towards sustaining the costs of that building.
But right now, there isn't any businesses in there, is there?
It's not approved to go,
Okay.
until that RFP is approved, they can't actually start the process of putting businesses in there.
And when will that be approved?
I think it's coming up pretty
Yeah, she
soon.
probably doesn't know.
I think it's
Yeah.
in process,
Okay.
right?
Mm.
But then I think moving down the street, there's already 2 new businesses that are in, I think it's been renamed, it used to be Pogus Mall.
Yeah,
now
it's
like
Pepperell Mall. I
Right,
keep calling it August Mall, and I have to keep saying, no, it's Pepperell Mall.
right,
Yeah.
but you've got the Lazy Bubble coming.
Yeah, that
And
was
you've got
good.
the new flooring place. I
Yeah.
went to an open house there
Yeah.
and it's,
Nice
they've
people.
got more business than they can handle.
Good.
And they're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
to hire
Oh, wow, that's
people.
Oh, great.
Oh, that is good.
So, you know, if you, and I know that with, the music, the Indian Hill Music
Mhm,
Center,
yeah.
being built,
Yeah,
that
that's
there's
very
an
nice.
anticipation of
Yeah.
overflow from, all of the, traffic, I think that they're anticipating there with restaurants, and so if Pepperell had more restaurant availability, and even for the restaurants that we already have,
Right.
that if we could develop more, and you know, there's talk of more like farm to table sort of,
Mhm.
so that if there's like, you know, kind of a culinary trail, and that would bring in
Well,
things
that's a
for
good way
the,
to put it.
right, so.
Culinary trail, I
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
So if you know, that brings in the farmers and it kind of trails in with, you know, as more of a sustainability and providing, more economic development for the
Right.
farmers, right?
Yeah, that's good. I like that term.
So,
Yeah.
So you think we should continue to keep the Peter Fitzpatrick School up to date and,
I think it
Not
is
mothball
definitely
it or
worth
anything,
a good
keep it
shot,
going.
right?
because that would be 125,000 and then it'll be 100,000 the next year to pay for it, whatever that yearly bill
Yeah.
is.
From what I've heard, there are a lot of businesses that are interested in going in there.
Okay.
So if that's a viable alternative, and it seems like the town, there
Yeah, that's,
is behind it, sure, let's go.
that's been like over
Right.
and over that they wanna keep that. I love the buildings, so,
I know you don't.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm in for, you know,
So what is your
Patrick
answer
collaborative.
to the safety complex, the safety situation?
Well, wait, I wanna keep going with the economic,
Go
right?
ahead, sure.
So, I think if we also keep going down from what I've heard, that there's a proposal that's sort of starting with the Greens property down there.
right,
That there's maybe the start of something down there, but
Oh,
that's, you know, it would be lovely if something happened of mixed
Yeah.
use, right? With some housing,
Yeah.
some small businesses.
that would be.
I think it's just you know,
Yeah.
very vaguely in the works, but
Oh, good.
it would be terrific after these years if something really got
Yeah,
going,
that is good.
right?
So are the Greens like not doing their AutoPAD, thing?
I
Have
don't
things-
know,
you don't know?
I've just heard
Okay.
that somebody is involved in like a proposal process.
So the soap,
There, right, and I think that for that location, it's a great location. I mean, look what's in West Groton.
Yeah.
If there could be something that with a
Yeah.
look and feel for that, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about all the people that come to town now, that come for the rail trail, right?
Yep.
They
Oh, that's
come
right.
for the streams,
Yeah.
they come for the
Yeah.
the nature walks.
Mhm.
We already have so many people that are coming into town. So if there was a way to expand upon that. So I met with the farmers the other night. We had a meeting, and it was, I guess that, because I was actually just down over at Wilkins Farm, and they weren't able to attend because, like she said, this is a really busy weekend and they work until midnight,
Yeah.
so.
their hard work is,
But we were talking about ideas for the farm community, and so a suggestion that I had was, all right, so what if we got together a list of all the farmers in town, what they do, what their products are, and we made up a brochure. And we have the brochures available at the library,
Mhm.
right?
that's
And we
good.
also had it available at town hall, and then we put it online. So this again goes back to that whole thing
Yeah,
about
it's a
like
good idea.
like a trail.
Yeah,
And we could furthermore link it with, what about a list of all of the historic areas,
Mhm.
right? And then we've also got the memorials, right? We bring the
Yeah,
veterans into
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So that we
is good.
start to identify everything that
Yeah, the
Pepperell has,
positive stuff.
has to
Yeah, it does have
offer,
a lot.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then down at Railroad Square, if we have, if we got together with the Pepperell Business Association and we're identifying businesses that are there, and we have, because often you see like a visitor center, they have like, you know, like a big kiosk or something that identifies and lists out
Yeah,
everything that Pepperell has to offer, like a welcome to Pepperell. here's what we
Oh,
have,
that's
and
a great
put it by
idea.
category.
Yeah,
I love
So
it.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like instead of having like a visitor booth,
Yeah.
but we just,
well,
put
yeah,
something
that's a
like
great
that.
idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's like highlighting, that's very good. Yeah, I like
We have to
that.
self-promote,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right? Make it user-friendly, and here's where
Yeah.
you can go.
we're all about promoting. That's
All
good.
about
and when
promoting.
I finish the
It is.
sidewalks down there, it'll look really nice.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
good.
that idea
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? I know
That's
that's
gonna
like
be
in
nice.
stages, but
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
idea, right?
It's gonna
Yeah, and
look nice.
this is kind of Margaret's vision too, because when we interviewed her, so you and Margaret are kind of on the same page. I mean,
Mhm.
really,
Yeah,
you need
right.
it. The two.
Well, I think there has to
Yeah.
be a plan that kind of
Yeah.
like goes from start to bottom.
Mm.
And what's actually kind of funny about it is that when, because I've been in Friends of Pepperell for 15 years now,
Mhm.
and we first started off, moms with little kids,
Mhm.
and there was no playground to go during the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
So you either had to go to Townsend, which had that little playground,
Yeah.
or we had to go up to Roby Park.
Mhm.
So the problem with that is that you go out of town, and before you know it, you're going out of town for your lunch,
Yep.
and you're going out of town for your shopping.
Yeah.
And so our idea was, okay, so first we started fundraising, and we ended up after was it 6 years, I think, we had enough money to put the playground on town field. Because we felt like the playground was the first thing that our kids would be able to play, that everybody would be able to have a common place on town field. But
That
the
field's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful field.
right, but the original vision that we had was for the paved walking path,
Mhm.
because everybody would be able to utilize a paved walking
Mhm.
path, from seniors
Mhm.
to moms with strollers to kids with bikes learning how to ride their
Yeah.
bikes, which we all went through that with our kids. And the idea is, because like Larderfield, we're kind of basing it on Larderfield and Dunstable.
Mhm.
Have you ever
Mhm.
been there?
Mhm.
And again, the idea was that keeping it in Pepperell, so that you're not taking it out of Pepperell and then eating
Mhm.
out of Pepperell and doing your shopping
Yeah.
out of Pepperell. So this way, if you're right there in the heart of Pepperell, right on town field,
Mm.
and you're playing with your kids, you're right there, and it's also at the top, and you're there to like kind of walk your kids also. If the sidewalks are good, you're able to like
Mm.
play
Yep.
and then be able to walk down the street, go catch lunch, maybe at CNS, maybe
Yeah.
like walk down to
Mariano's,
Mariano's,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Continue down, maybe
Yeah.
hit something at the hardware store,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
a
then
good
go to
plan.
Donovan's
Yeah,
and pick
very
up
good.
some
Take it
groceries.
down. Yeah.
So the idea is that we're
Yeah,
trying to
that's
keep it,
excellent.
and we
Yeah.
had this vision,
Yeah.
this was years ago, so
Yeah.
I am happy to say that they, were starting to break ground next week
Yeah, that,
on the
nice.
paved
Very
walking
nice.
path,
Yeah.
on town field, so.
that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, I like it.
So,
Stay with
Great
that.
idea.
Yeah.
And good thinking.
Safety complex, is that gonna be possible?
well, so
2
I've
years?
had meetings with, the police chief and the fire chief. I've toured the facilities. So the feeling that I get, so right now they're doing a little addition off of the back of the fire department.
Right, I think the fire department's kinda happy with his situation.
I think he's-
working
right.
within his
Mhm.
buildings.
Which is
Yeah.
much needed. I
Yeah.
think that is a good fix for now, and I also think that the logistics of having the two fire stations, that you've got one
Yeah,
on
you
either
need-
side of
yeah.
the river, I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea to keep both locations. Eventually, like talking with Chief Scott, there is going to be a need for something down the line for the fires, for the
Yep.
police station. That is, I mean, it's a great building, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
It-
like the Fitz, it's a great building, but it needs a lot
That
of work.
one needs some
Yeah.
insulation and some other,
Yeah.
needs, and it's also got the, the call center in there too.
Yeah.
But, realistically, that's more than like probably 5 years or so out. I really like what is happening in town hall. where, we've got the capital planning committee going,
Mm-hmm.
and, I think that the town administrator is doing a fabulous job of
He's doing a good job. He's a
of-
very smart guy.
identifying and making it very transparent what the costs are and projections, and he has some good, people on that committee.
I think he's got good insights
He does.
into, everything.
I think it's organizing. It's
Yeah.
getting things organized and getting all the parts moving, which it makes it easy to see, like, okay, this department is in need of this department, this is what you can, get things on a schedule of what needs to be replaced. Because I think instead of having things in crisis mode and then,
Yeah.
having to like put out fires, if, this particular piece of equipment is going to be aging out, then you know that this is going to be aging in,
Yeah.
and getting
Be a thing.
things on a program, all the departments. I would say right now, what is most needing attention is the highway department.
Yeah, that has for
The
a while.
vehicles and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Very old.
I mean, their newest piece of equipment being,
Yeah. 30
Those
years old.
those are all
Yeah.
capital purchases,
Yeah.
yeah.
so,
And the capital committee was probably a missing piece in how to, get all that stuff done.
Right.
And stay on top
very
of
much
it.
so.
Yeah.
So,
So you could work with Andrew.
I have been working with him
So you have
throughout
a-
the summer
yeah.
on various projects, so I
That's-
found him
That's
very,
good.
very easy to work with.
Good.
Yeah, I think he's a creative thinker also, and
Yeah,
You
you know.
Yeah, I think he is.
you have to be that way to find solutions, like, okay, we can't do this, but how about we try to do that, and,
And he seems to have some diplomacy, which I think you need.
right,
It's good.
Yeah.
So you'd be a good team.
Mm.
You, Margaret, Bill. That's kind of what I'm sensing.
I think everyone would be able to problem solve and,
Good.
because I think everybody is there to have a pulse on what the needs of the town are, and, you have to listen and then take into account the facts and, render some logical decisions, and I think
Mhm.
that's really
Mhm.
what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have your personal opinions
Right.
about some things,
Right.
but ultimately, it's about listening to people and then,
Yeah, you
taking
can,
into
Because you
account the
represent
facts,
whole
right,
town,
Yeah,
not-
right.
yeah,
Not your
right.
personal opinions.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
great.
yeah. So how about the Charter Review Commission? Is there anything specifically you're hoping they'll work on or change?
I have not been able to spend as much time on that thus
Mhm.
far. That is something that's on my list to start,
Okay.
looking into. I know that there are some recommendations that are, to be made,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
update some things,
Yeah.
which I think is always a good idea, but I can't really speak to that right now.
Do you like the idea of a 5-board selectman?
I have heard
Mhm.
pros and cons about that. I've heard that it can be beneficial
Mhm.
to have more ideas, and I've heard that it can also, or that another plus of it can be that in the event of, say, something like this happening where somebody, which I think is rare, I think this is the first time somebody has actually resigned, and
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think it's
true.
happened
I do.
before.
I do.
but I think that, it can throw something in that,
Mhm.
about like signing things, and, and I think it makes it harder on the other two that are then present.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes, depending on the personalities that are involved, that if you have 5 people, it can make it more contentious, or, but 5 people, I think it just depends on the town,
Mhm.
the people that you have involved, and,
Right.
They did investigate it in the original charter review, and they decided against it. But I think times change, and maybe it needs to be like looked at maybe
Mhm.
again. Just actually for the special election reason. In a way, I feel kind of bad, like then you have to do this again, or then there's another election next year, whereas I think if you had a
Right.
5-member board, you wouldn't be facing this. You could actually have
right,
an election when it's supposed to happen, and things kind of move along.
well, and also the cost to the town too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
so I mean, I
That's
think that
cost
is
money.
one benefit, but I think it's worth relooking, hopefully they will.
I think too that, I think that some towns can go back and forth too, if it doesn't work out,
Right, you can
5
change
people,
it,
you can
yep.
change it back to
Yep.
3. I think, it also can come down to, are there 5 people that are willing to run? Like,
That is a
Right.
you know,
issue, yeah.
and that leads me to volunteerism. I think it's wonderful to have people that are engaged in their town and want to be civically minded. I've always tried to emphasize to my children the importance of giving back to community. I mean, their principal at school, when they first started out early on, in one of her speeches that she gave, she said, you know, your children model after you. You don't have to, it's not what you say always, but it's how you act.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's like, if you're
Yeah.
involved
Yeah.
and you're, you know, involved in activities and involved in, you know, not just at school, but in your community, and are knowledgeable about things that are going on, and not in a contentious fashion, but in a positive way, that it's kind of like, if you don't like something that you see, then get involved and try to make, you know, try to make a positive effect. Have a positive conversation and try to do something that will, you know, change the outcome in a way that you see would be beneficial to a lot of people. So I think that I've tried to do that. I've tried to be on, you know, a lot of committees throughout my children's academic, you know, years, and I've tried to do that through the community. So
I think I said this with Derek, I give you guys credit that volunteer and stuff, but sometimes it's not in people to be that type of personality, to be out there involved. And it's not that they don't want to, or they're not interested. I think it's a different personality or whatever, but I do think like just getting to the polls and voting, like would be,
absolutely.
like you have to
It's
see
good.
this,
Yeah.
those kind of, that group would be like, yeah, but I think, you know, there's other ways other than sometimes being on committee or being out there, because I don't think that way to contribute is for everyone.
No, but you can like do something like, so down at the fall festival,
Yeah.
you can put in like 3 hours of volunteering to
Yeah.
like help set up a
Yeah.
booth, or, you know, help direct
Yeah.
traffic,
Yeah.
or,
Well, this is our volunteerism, because
Yeah.
there was an information vacuum in this town.
Yeah,
There wasn't a lot of ways to get information in one place.
so,
So we're trying to.
well, and I
spread
think that
information.
since the paper has pared down,
Right.
I mean, since the paper changed the
it's
format,
different, yeah.
and it isn't, you know, as, there aren't as many articles, and they're not as in-depth as they
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
be. I think that it's harder for people to know what's going on.
It is,
It is
And,
definitely.
you know,
it is.
so this is, the
And then
medium
they
has changed.
hear things or read things and
Yeah.
misconstrue things, and so we try to get the facts from the person.
Yeah, this is definitely one way to do it.
Yeah.
I like that little forum, Pepperell Community Events.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, yeah,
it's just
that
like,
gets you, yeah,
it's kind of like just a rolling thing
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like, cause it's a reminder, like, you know, oh, this is happening, you know, today, or this is happening next
Yeah.
week, put it on your calendar.
it is,
That's a way to kind
it
of,
is,
a reminder for people to do
just about
things.
information.
Yeah.
So, toxic
Correct
soil,
information.
the
Correct information.
plastics, and, what was the other one? The
Noise bylaw?
Noise
No.
bylaw, and actually the, home rule petition. Those
So
are the
we
two
can
final
start,
ones.
we
Yeah.
can start off
Yeah.
with toxic soil, but I can first back it off with, as if like life wasn't busy enough, yeah. A few
It's good.
years back, actually, you know, I would say the first thing that I stepped into, like, with really quickly, my husband and I, was when, the pipeline came. And that was, you know, it was a knock on the door, and, a representative of Kinder Morgan was basically notifying us that they wanted to put, they were going to be putting,
Yeah.
a gas pipeline by
No.
eminent domain through our yard. It was going to be coming from across the street, conservation land,
Mhm.
and they were going to put it through our yard, about 100 feet or so from our kids' bedroom windows. And we had no notification of anything other than that, and basically it started that we were, you know, up at town hall. They had no idea really what was going on, and it was basically a call to action, trying to find out what the heck was going on, who was impacted, and trying to rally people together to basically, shut this thing down
Yeah,
and
you
just
did.
inform people of what was going on, because it was life altering. And basically for 2 years, that was what we did. It was informing people, trying to come up with ways to stop it. And I'm so proud that Pepperell passed a non-binding resolution unanimously
Yeah.
to say this is not going to
People
happen.
know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
So when you are faced with something that is adverse, that is just, negatively impacting your community, you step up and you step in. And that is what I did. With my husband and I, we founded the homeowner coalition for that. There's nothing good that is going to come from a pipeline coming into your town. And the same thing with this, this soil reclamation project. It has, anytime that they're trucking something out, and all the projects that I've read about, they may have allowable levels of contaminants, but why would we want to bring something like that into our community? And things leach down into the soil. We have water,
Yeah, it's really
we have water sources that are right up there. There's nothing more important than clean water. Can't emphasize that enough. We don't want that kind of truck traffic. The kind of traffic that we want coming into this town is people coming in to visit our historic sites.
Yeah, our
Right,
culinary
Our-
trail.
our culinary trail, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Culinary historical
Right,
trail.
I mean, if there's something that I'm missing as far as, some sort of economic benefit to 8 to 10 trucks an hour coming in on our roads, that they're gonna bring some sort of economic benefit, show me a spreadsheet that is
No,
going
I don't
to like show some sort of economic benefit. I don't see it.
So you're hopeful we can stop it?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
hopeful we can stop it.
Okay.
I believe it's in land court, and there should be another way that would be mutually beneficial to develop that property. There are other things that could be done on that property as well.
Yeah.
That let's talk and make that happen,
No,
right?
yeah, I wish you would talk.
I do too, man.
Yeah. But
You
so
girls
now-
gotta get out there.
We've tried, we've called him.
yeah.
We've
Okay.
called him.
Yeah.
My brother knows him and we've tried.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
tried a few
yeah.
times,
Mm.
but we don't give up.
Yeah.
No. Hopefully he'll talk.
Yeah, you never know.
Plastics, son did an excellent job on that, it's good. And the noise and the home rule petition, could probably just,
That was the soil reclamation, yeah.
yeah.
It could help, it can't hurt, right?
Right, it's just another protection.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you do things that are, so like the noise bylaw is, basically what it is it's a protection for the town. It should have actually been followed up when the Kinder Morgan pipeline was, it's basically a way to protect against big, loud projects that would be coming through, such as that compressor station that was being proposed at that time. I mean, that's basically what it's designed against. It would not change what is going on now. It's not something that is looking at, leaf blowers, air conditioners,
Home parties with music and everything.
no.
She has a wedding coming up. Yeah, no.
I mean, things that are, just like everyday life sort of, activities. These are the same things that are like, large,
Good, good.
ongoing, installations that would be above a very high dB level.
Right, so it could help stop Nashville Road. I mean, it's not targeted for Nashville Road, but it could help stop it.
Yes.
Good.
And you don't know what other projects would be down the line.
No, right.
And, if other towns are developing, which many towns have bylaws that protect against, high levels of noise. And if Pepperell doesn't have something like that, well, aren't we open to?
Yeah, well, we were open for this soil reclamation thing. Yeah. We're sitting ducks. We were.
Yeah. I'm all set.
Yeah.
Unless
say whatever you like.
Yeah. Tie it up.
It's yours.
I would just, I'm just trying to think, after having, I think I know a bit about the town.
Sure.
I would just say that after having, since I pulled papers on August 30th, I've had the opportunity to visit with so many different departments and, just tour the facilities and really have in-depth conversations to, talk to them about their goals.
Yeah.
And, like looking at their 3, 5, 10-year plans, looking, outward. And I can't say enough about the employees that we have from town
I
hall,
agree.
our town administrator,
Talented, dedicated, yeah.
dedicated library, transfer station, I don't wanna forget anybody here.
No.
Fire,
Fire,
police, transfer,
Waterworks, yeah, everything, everything.
yep,
Those
water
people.
station, the sewer, actually, that was real
Landfill.
great.
I love the landfill. Sorry.
Yeah,
I do.
you talk about transfer
Yeah,
station.
I call it the landfill.
Yeah, they do a great job out there.
Yeah, they
They're
do.
just,
I wish more people used it.
I really want to promote that more.
Yeah.
'Cause that's another, enterprise fund, and if we want to have that stay around, we need more people to sign on for it, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's such an easy in and out.
No,
And
yeah.
you save so much
Using
money.
it for years.
We need more people. Sign up.
Yeah,
Really get out
Yeah.
there.
and it's not that expensive.
No, it's not.
Bag, whatever it costs, it's.
Well, I think you've
It's
shown
not.
that you're committed to get out there and meet every department, get a handle on issues and stuff that,
Before there was a
Shows a
resignation,
lot.
were you thinking of running for the board of selectmen anyway?
I had not been thinking
No? Oh,
of
okay.
it. It was not something that was on my radar
Okay.
at all. I was pretty busy this summer, like I said,
Yeah.
working on projects, helping my son. My daughter had made the videos with Pepperell Community Media.
yep, those were very excellent, very
So
good.
she was doing that project, and this was just one of those things that it was kind of like, okay, nobody else is
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of, so I'm like,
Yeah, you gotta
all
be,
right, I'm gonna
I
step
took
in
it for you,
and just
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I see an opportunity to help the town, and I have not done anything like this before. I'm not normally like a step out into the public big time like this
so
person,
you're
but
very articulate and
Yeah, very
intelligent.
good,
well, thank you.
organized.
Yeah, very, yeah.
Yeah, I would say, got a
You
handle
got a
on
plan
it.
too, I like the plan.
And I like the plan.
That's the best, we haven't heard a plan like that, I love it.
No,
I have more ideas too.
Yeah.
well, that's
It's-
good.
It's original,
it
out
up.
of the box, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
I was meeting with the superintendent of schools, and I had some ideas about, I like the idea of trying to do something with the seniors, like seniors with seniors, and trying to get something, a conversation going with
They do like, they did middle school letter writing and stuff, which was kind
Right,
of good,
that's
but
what he had said.
actually, the senior thing, the older kids.
Right, the
So you
older
mean like
kids.
seniors in high school?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
seniors in
nice.
high school and seniors at the
nice,
senior
yeah.
center. Yeah.
Oh,
I told him that when I was in high school, when my husband and I were in high school, because we went to the same high school together, and
We did too.
yeah.
did you?
Yeah, we all did, we went to the same high school.
It's funny.
Yeah, we didn't.
It's an eternity.
we didn't date back then, but we met at our high school reunion.
Yeah.
But we did an interesting project where back then it was interviewing people that were impacted by the Depression, and so learning about people that had done works with working with like the Works Project Administration and the CCC programs. And so it was a great opportunity to go out and learn about and you had no money during the Depression, and
Right.
people were really,
Mhm.
and so learning okay, what did the farmers do? People that in farm
Yeah.
communities, because I grew up in a very small town, Chester, New Hampshire, and it was 1,800 people
Mhm.
back then. I lived on 13 acres,
Oh, wow.
had a bunch of horses and grew up
Yeah.
riding. And so I, reached out to some people that were, from the farming community and interviewed them. But then I also talked to people that literally took the train, like had to leave school, and were taking the train in and getting whatever job that they could to try to help their families to survive.
Mhm.
And so it just, it was so impactful to learn and kids, I don't think they understand like
They don't.
how hard, life was.
Well, they don't know history in general
Yeah,
sometimes, so
no.
that's actually a good
Right.
way to do it.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's great.
I think that like seniors here in town have such a tie to the community, like many of them that I've talked to down at the
Yep,
senior
They
center,
do.
because I cook down there once a month with a group, and there's so many stories that they have, ones that have lived here or moved in and that are married into a family. And so there's such an opportunity with because there's a media lab at the high school.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And
Yeah.
Pepperell Community Center,
Mhm.
is always
Always
willing to
Yeah,
work.
they are.
They're terrific.
Yeah.
we know.
They're good.
Right, it's a big,
Right.
big
Yeah.
shout out to them,
I
but
think that's a great
it would be
idea.
a great opportunity to,
Because the seniors live in this town, I mean, a lot of them pay a lot of taxes, and those taxes go to the school to help
Right.
educate those kids. I
Well,
think
those
would be a
seniors
nice
could
little
have a day of cooking.
relationship
They
Yeah.
could volunteer to cook a day down there. And, yeah.
at the senior center.
Right.
Hmm.
but if they got the history of some of these,
Yeah.
if they recorded the histories and then
Yeah.
presented
Yeah,
it to the
yeah.
town's, genealogy,
Mhm.
departments like we have like at the library,
Yeah,
something like
that's a
that.
good idea.
Yeah,
We like thinking out of the box.
yeah, we do.
That's good. Nice to
Great.
hear. Good.
Are you gonna be putting some signs up?
So we just started this
Oh, good.
weekend.
Okay,
Yep,
Great.
so, I have like, a little committee and we've been
nice.
getting the signs out, so
And when is the election?
November 18th.
November 18th.
And where can you pick up the signs?
You can contact me, I do have a candidate website,
Okay.
you
Well,
can
I'm
message
contacting
me or,
you. We both actually have nice little areas for
Yeah,
signs.
good signs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll give you a sign on the way out.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll probably put Joe Bradwich's signs up too, because we like to be fair.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Well,
like
if you-
Denene Joe, Denene Joe. Okay.
There you
Just
go.
so you know, yeah. Then
Oh.
people can make their own decision. But yeah, we'll put them up.
Terrific,
Yeah, good. All right, we'll grab some. I'm all set. It's great.
all right.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanna say, or are you good?
I think that's pretty good. I think I've talked about, I know that I think we've talked about, like, I do like the idea of, at the farmers meeting, we did talk about like a food hub idea. Ken Hartledge is come up with a really good idea and is gonna be, I think,
Ah.
carrying that a little, do you know anything about that?
No, but an area where farmers could bring their produce or whatever and sell it. Kinda
Right.
like a farmer's market.
Right, well, because also like with the climate changing and being impactful to like their farming, this is something that they could do more year round.
Okay.
So they can go to some indoor farming
Mhm.
and they can, it's a collective way for farmers to,
I think they have one on Port Devens, don't they? The Hyponic
well,
Farm.
so they're farming indoors with that,
Indoors,
correct?
yeah.
But what a food hub does is it provides an opportunity for farmers to collectively get their produce and products together. So not just produce,
Okay.
but also meats, and cheeses. And they can, if they identify just like a source that they can actually have their foods go to. So say,
Okay.
for example, if we could talk to the school, because actually
Yeah.
schools are kind of encouraged to source locally if it's available.
Yep.
And so what you need to do is a storage
I think
facility,
that's what Harvard does.
Harvard
Which-
does it,
Yeah,
Really?
Harvard does that.
which we
all.
could do, we could
Yep.
find the facility like in Lomar,
Mhm,
right? So
yeah.
that could be like a new business in
Yeah.
Lomar. And basically you need a refrigerated truck, that would be the cost. And you collect it from the farmers, and it can be not just in Pepperell, but around locally
Okay.
too, so that you get enough for it to supply. And you could provide it to like the school district, you could provide it to like local hospitals, but it gives them basically, an opportunity
And
to sell
healthier food.
Yeah, healthier food.
and healthier food,
Yeah,
right? And it
definitely.
also gives an opportunity to teach the kids in the school about healthy food
Yeah,
options.
and where food actually comes from. Yeah.
Right, and maybe
Yeah.
get them some cooking classes,
Mhm.
maybe teach them at the
Maybe they wanna
fits,
be
you can have
farmers.
some little food
Supply
classes.
chain classes,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, so it was a great discussion the other night.
Yeah,
Nice.
great ideas. I like them.
So,
Excellent.
yeah, good stuff
Yeah, thank
coming.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's
good.
Good stuff.
Well,
Look
thank
forward
you.
to it.
All right.
Denene Premus, go to the polls,
Yes, go to the polls,
Yeah,
November 18th.
have a voice, November 18th.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Denene.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen.
That's great, yeah,